Oh, mercy. Oh, my. Oh, mercy. Mercy had to come up. I'm late. I know I'm very late. I'm sorry I wasn't on last week. I had plumb forgot. I got involved with something. I don't remember now what it was, but I had just plumb forgot. I'm so sorry. And then today, I was gonna come up. Well, then I got into a heated conversation via texting. Um, it wasn't going to be a heated discussion, at least as far as I thought. But I was surprised that it did become a heated discussion. I'll tell you. I'm sure I am not the only one who is in this boat. I have family who do not live around me. And they have different lifestyles, different priorities than I do. And that's fine. I still love them very, very much. And I care deeply about their well being. Let me see here. Adjust that a little bit. Is that a little bit better? Anyway, I'm sure you have all heard by now that Biden said, now I didn't hear it personally, but I've been hearing all about it from other sources. Um, apparently, he is telling the American people to expect food shortages. There has not been food shortages in this country since World War II, when people were rationed. Now, I am, like I said, I have family who do not live handy to me, and I was concerned about them. So I asked them, I sent them a text, and I asked them, did you guys hear about what the president said? And they, at least one of my family admitted that she had not heard it. Another member had heard it. That one member made it political. And it was not intended to be political, not by any stretch of the imagination. And it broke my heart because I dearly love that family member. And I certainly did not expect the reaction that I got from them. And it just kind of it shocked me. This transcends beyond politics. You know, this is not a time for politics. I mean, that's a separate issue. This is a matter of being able to feed your family. I firmly believe from the bottom of my heart that God led me to where we are right now. He set me on a path years ago to get to this point. I have always loved country and farming, whatever. Okay, I was not raised in a farming family. My mother didn't even have a garden. Okay, um, she always said she had a black thumb, not a green thumb. However, she always managed to grow African violets. I remember that. She killed everything else, but African violets she managed not to kill. You know, so we had plenty of African violets in the house. um, but gardening was not her thing. Um, when we moved to the country for a short period of time, my father was supportive of my desire to have a garden, and he had was at that time I think we had an acre and a half of land. Okay, not very big, um, but he had this one section plowed up, and I don't know, it might have been a quarter of an acre of the property. I don't know. I mean, I was a kid. Okay, so it might have been a quarter of an acre. But to me, it was huge. And he had this whole area plowed up. Well, I don't know how many of you know. You probably realize when you're starting out gardening, you start small, okay, and you build gradually. And so he had all this land plowed up. And you know what happens when you don't plant on plowed land? You get a lot of weeds. So, needless to say, I didn't get the whole thing planted. I didn't really know that much about gardening, and I didn't have a whole lot of success with it. Um, but this was long before YouTube. So, I mean, like I said, my father was always very supportive. And but that was I was around 13. Okay, 13, 14. I was just young. But anyway, as things progressed, I mean, I still over the years attempted to have a garden. I wanted to have a garden. I wanted to plant the seeds in the ground. I wanted to see it grow. Okay. That was my desire. And every place that we lived mostly couldn't have a successful garden, even though I tried. Every location I tried. Oh man. And if I had had YouTube back then, I might have been successful. I don't know. I had gardening books and seed books and stuff like that. And it's just like, I just couldn't get it going until, one the last place that we lived in Canada. Um, I did have a small garden plot, and each year I expanded it. And it was successful for the size it was. And like I said, it was very small to begin with. I had hand dug it, because we didn't have a tiller. Um, and I, whatever I planted grew. Okay. And we did eat from our garden, from my garden. So, um, so this, so that kind of set me on the path. Okay. Now at this point, there was no livestock involved. Okay. Fast forward to we were living in New Jersey, and um, I had been able to get into my love of horses. I mean, I have always loved horses. Um, if you ask my parents, they would have sworn that my first word was horse. Okay, because it's been a part of me since I can remember. So I finally was able to get into horses, um, and I I had a horse who was my heart, and when she passed away, I was devastated. Um, but I still went to the farm where I had boarded her. for all those years. And just because I needed that normalcy, okay, the thought crossed my mind to sell my saddle right after she passed away. And I thought, no, it's too soon. Don't sell it yet. So I held on to it. And the person who owned the property, she, let me ride some of her horses with no problem. I mean, we were friends. But she had chickens, okay? And she didn't do anything with the chickens. They were just there, okay? She didn't collect the eggs or anything like that. Well, I had found where one of the hens was laying her eggs. And I asked her if I could take the eggs. And one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, and I ended up with a flock of chickens of my own, which she allowed me to have on her property because I couldn't have them where I was living. No, not by any stretch of the imagination. So I developed a love for chickens. Okay. And I love my chickens. And so at one point that came to an end because of circumstances beyond my control, and it really it wasn't that she told me I couldn't do it. No, it's just there was some other stuff that went on, and I had to, put an end to my chicken flock. So anyway, things were laid on my heart about coming events. Okay. Something told me, something was nagging at me, that things were going to be going downhill. And I didn't know if it was God laying it on my heart or what. I can't say. May have been. I'm not sure. But I started praying out of concern, okay, for what was going on. And it's like, what should I do? What can I do? Where should I go? All this stuff. And I started praying about it. And things developed, and things happened. And the final straw was when, I realized that my husband and I, when he retired, his retirement was coming up pretty quick. And when he retired, that there was no way that we could afford to live where we were living. We could not afford to live in the state in which we were living at the time. Okay, there was no way. The money would not have been there. We would not have been able to live there. So I started looking, okay, God, where do you want us to go? We can't stay here. There's no way. And so I started looking, and I narrowed it down. And for various reasons, I mean, I had several states around that I was looking at, and I kept being directed to Kentucky. Okay. And what got us moving on a fast track was that they made my husband retire earlier than what he had planned. Mm-hmm. And it was going to be, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. He was going to initially retire in December. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I got to thinking, I did not express it. I did not say this to anybody. Okay. But in my mind, I was thinking, well, December is not a good month to move in. Weather is not necessarily very good. And it's going to be cold. And I thought, well, it would have been nice to be able to move in the spring or the summer. But I guess it is what it is. And I accepted it. I said, I did not express that to anybody. It was just a thought that I had in my head. It's like it was something that was out of my control. So I was like, I accepted it. Well, then when he was told that he was going to be let go or he was going to be forced to retire, it was in May. And when he first told me, I was upset because financially it created greater hardship on us. Okay. But then I realized, wait a minute. You were thinking in your heart that it would be better to move when it was warmer. This was God's doing. So we moved. We came down. We made a trip as soon as he was finished work. We made a trip down to Kentucky. We were looking for land. I had some places lined up that we were going to look at. From the pictures, from the descriptions, it looked great. They were fantastic properties. Surely we would be able to find something. This was not one of them. This property here, I had seen the listing, but from the pictures and the description, I thought, that doesn't look like it's going to be very good for us. I think it's going to be too steep, and it's just, I didn't think it would work. So we weren't going to look at this property. All the other properties that we looked at, they were nowhere near like the description. And the pictures were, let's just say, they found the best places to take pictures. And the rest of the property was really not that good. So finally, at the end of it, I kept seeing the signs for the town that this property was listed under. Okay. And, and I remembered the town being for this property. And I kept seeing the signs. And it's like, you know what? We're striking out with all the others. What is this town is not that far. Why don't we go look at this property? Because we were running out of time. We were only down here for, a brief time. So we came. And I'll tell you, we had a hard time finding this property. But we found it. And that's another story how we found it. But we did find it. And as soon as we got past the cedar, you guys have seen my videos where the big cedar tree. As soon as we got past that big cedar tree and the property opened up, I just fell in love. It's like this was it. And I knew it. The drawback was there was no infrastructure on here at all. Okay, there had been at one point, but there wasn't at this point. So we got our land. Okay, now, of course, I wanted chickens. Okay, that was one thing I definitely wanted to have was chickens. And I had horses. Brought the horses up. Okay, so we have horses. Well, the first thing I got was guineas, and that was a flop. Now, maybe that was a good thing because, frankly, guineas are annoying. And they're constant honking. It's like, I had them to try and control the tick population, okay? That's why I got them to begin with, and there was quite a tick population. So that's why I got them. Well, they didn't last long. But right after the guineas were gone, then, okay, I got chickens. And looking at the property, what was here on the property, the landscape of the property, I thought, okay, I knew I wanted to get another livestock that would be an income for us. Okay. And it was either going to be goats or sheep. Because cattle, you need an infrastructure for the cattle. which I did not have. You need to have a way to transport them, which I did not have. Um, and you really need at least one piece of heavy machinery, which there was no way that was going to happen. So I needed something that I could handle with what I already had. And looking for the land, it was going to be goats. Okay, so I got the goats. Now, you see God's hand with the land, you see God's hand with the chickens. Um, I already had this heart desire for a garden. Okay, that was there. Okay. The next thing was a dairy goat. I had no intention of getting a dairy goat. I knew that there was no practicality in getting a milk cow. Okay. There was no way. For my family, my husband and I and my son, who was talking about moving out, a milk cow was just totally not practical. So forget the milk cow. So the goats, well, I figured if I really wanted to, I could always milk one of my Kiko goats. Well, the only one that had decent teats was Mama, and Mama was like, I ain't having no part of this. No way. So it's like, because she was the wildest, one of the wilder ones. She hadn't been handled. She got nice teeth, but she hadn't been handled. So, anyway, I made friends with the Amish, okay, and Amish guy that I'm really good friends with, and I do miss them terribly. Um, he had a dairy goat that he needed to rehome because they were moving, and they had just got a milk cow, so they didn't really need the dairy goat any longer. So he offered her to me at a price that I just simply could not turn down because I knew what her value was, and he let me have her for quite a bit less than what her value was. So I took her on. And that's Daisy. Okay, so now I have a milk goat that I never intended to have. Well, as you know, Daisy, she kidded, or she tried to kid. And unfortunately her kid was stillborn. So that left me with a dairy goat that I had never intended to get. That was producing so much milk, and the milk that we couldn't use, it was just too much for us. And it took time to milk her in the morning and milk her at night, and I just wasn't ready for that. I mean, I had intended to just let her kid nurse her as much as they wanted to, and I hadn't planned on having to milk her twice a day, every day. So I got, what am I going to do? Well, her previous owner had put a calf on her, a bottle calf, and she raised a bottle calf. I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what I ought to do. Get a bottle calf, put that on her. So that's what I did. I started looking for a bottle calf. I found one north of me, a place that sells bottle calves. And I said, because of the size, I only had my Tahoe to transport them in. Okay. I figured, okay, I want the smallest one they've got. Okay. So I went in, I looked, they had a few, and I looked to see what they had. They had some bigger ones and some smaller ones, and I found the smallest one that they had. It was a Jersey, and that's Chucky. And I brought him home. And now I have a bottle calf that I had no intention of getting. No intention to begin with. So, Chucky will be ready for butcher in September. Let me rephrase that. I will be ready for him to go to butcher in September. Now, maybe he'll have a little bit more growing yet to do, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to take him on much longer after that. Okay, so we're looking at September. That's not a confirmed date yet. Okay, I have to call the butcher in August and set the appointment. Okay, so I've got the steer that I never intended to have. I got a dairy goat I never intended to have. And I've got land I never dreamed I would have. Um, it's got a pond, which I couldn't believe that there would be land available at the price we bought with a pond on it. It's got a small creek, and it's got so much potential here. It's got a hand dug well. We get enough rain around here. Excuse me. We get enough rain around here. Set up rainwater catchment system. So I've got multiple water sources. Okay. Not that I was necessarily looking for multiple water sources, but I've got multiple water sources. So anyway, this is where, I could see God putting things in my path. The chickens, the goats, the dairy goat, the steer, all these things that had not been in my original thoughts way back when. And you could see how God put things in my path to develop me to this point, for this moment. Because now is the time when all of those things, all those skills, all that knowledge is going to be put to use. Even if I did not really know or understand what my future was going to bring, or any of our futures. Here I am now. And looking back, I can see where God put these things in my path so that I would be ready for now. Yeah, I know a lot of people that those that follow me know that we're homesteaders, okay? Homesteaders / preppers. And I've said many times before, comments on other websites. My mother was a prepper before there was a label for it. She taught me to, during the good times, to stock your pantry and stock your freezer. And make sure it's always well stocked during the good times. So that when the bad times come, and she said, not if bad times come, but when the bad times come, you will have something to fall back on. And that's one thing I mentioned to my sister, is that I don't know that we ever knew as kids growing up that we were going through bad times. Our parents did. When my father lost work, what have you, in my mind, I remember him always working. There was a couple times maybe that he might not have been, but I don't remember it because we always had what we needed. Our needs were met. My mother had prepared. And that's now what we are faced with. Are we prepared? The President of the United States has finally admitted that there are hard times coming. There will be food shortages. Everything that's been developing over the last year has led to this moment. Actually, beyond this year for sure. But there's been a lot of things happening this year. It's like everything is just accelerated. Now, I do As a Christian, I do firmly believe that Jesus Christ is going to be coming again. Okay. And I believe we're getting closer and closer to that time. If you do not know him as your Savior, please, there's multiple ones of us here on YouTube who can help you to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Do not put it off. He loved you. He loves you and wants the best for you. And that means he wants you to be with him for eternity. And heaven is a beautiful place. It's a wonderful place. He sacrificed for you. Please, if you have questions, there's Living on a Dime did some wonderful videos on asking Christ to be your Savior. Wonderful ones. I'm not necessarily all that articulate. Okay. But there's many others who are far more articulate than I am. And I strongly urge you to seriously consider giving your life to Christ. Okay? Because time is running short. We see it. The signs have been building and building for years, and we see it developing even more so. We are in for some hard times. Please make preparation if you haven't already. Plant your seeds, grow your garden, find a source of protein, something that you would be able to feed. That is something that I am trying to sort out. One wonderful thing is that all of my livestock, with the exception of Honey, but she would be willing to if I let her, all of my livestock is free range. My goats are free range, Chucky's free range, my chickens are free range, my ducks are free range. So really, during the spring, summer, and even fall, I don't have to feed them very much. Feed them a little bit to keep them domesticated, okay? But I don't have to feed them very much. Come winter, that is when I have to feed them. And so this is what I'm trying to sort out as to how am I going to feed them. I'm fully expecting hay prices to be much higher this winter, this summer, whatever. Okay, this year. That's what I'm fully expecting. Now, talking with my neighbor, he has told me that he is not planning on cutting as much hay as he has in the past. He is having some health issues, but he says he's fine at this point. And that, and I was concerned that maybe providing me with hay was going to be too much for him. But he assured me, you just go ahead, you keep buying the hay from me like you have been, and it's fine. I said, I'm not feeling any different. You know, the numbers are a little bit lower than they were, but you know, I'm feeling fine. So, okay. So if you think about it, pray for my neighbor, my golden neighbor. Okay? How many total acres do you have there? Okay. Jean, by the way, hi Jean. I have over 46 acres. Now, here is something that I have not admitted to anybody up until now. Only my close family know about this. Okay? Friends and family know it. But this property is in 2 parcels. and they do not neighbor each other. They're not what they call contiguous. Okay, they're separate parcels. I do not know why we ended up with property that is divided like it is, but it is. Uh, we live on 35 acres. The other one is over 11 acres. Um, I had explored it a little bit before, and it appeared to me to be rather steep, and it's got a creek on it. And I mean, I didn't go very far on it, and I just kind of like, it wasn't my focus at this time. It was I needed to focus on where we were living. But I took a walk on it. I didn't get to walk the whole property, but I walked more of it than I had the other day. Um, and it's not as bad as I thought it was. Yeah, there is a bad section where it's all swampy, and another section that's very steep. But based on what I'm living with here, I believe that it could still be made useful. Okay. We have not discussed that property. I don't know if we're going to keep it or sell it or let someone see if they wanted to build on it or put something on it. I don't know yet at this point. But that property is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So let's just say it's got more value than I thought I had. So we'll see. It's not as off the beaten path as the property is that I'm living on, but that property is still on my deed. So we still own it. Okay. So that's how much property I have. My best friend is still talking about moving to Kentucky, and we'll see what happens. Her husband is not doing well. Um, and she knows that she is more than welcome to come here. And she can stay for as long as she wants or as long as she needs to. And what she does, if she buys her own property, that's fine. If she has to stay here, that's fine. However it works, that will be plenty for free ranging. Yes. And the thing is, okay, where I am located, there is nothing around me. Okay. My neighbors are far enough away that it's not a problem. And they both know that I free range. And I told them, that if it's a problem, let me know and I'll deal with it. And so far, they have said, no, it's not a problem. They're fine. As a matter of fact, I was very concerned about Chucky being where he shouldn't have been in my books. And talking to my golden neighbor, he said, let him go. It's free food. Nobody's using that land. It's, everybody I've talked to about it has said it's not a problem. Okay. So until it becomes a problem, I'll continue to free range them. Because it's like people talk about rotational grazing. Okay. Well, my goats are not grazers, they're browsers. There's a lot of brush in this area. Okay. The only thing we don't have kudzu at this point, not in my immediate area. So they don't have that to chow down on. If there was kudzu around here, I'm sure that they would be extremely welcome. But anyway, so so far it's been working out. Okay. Um, Something happened this morning that I was very pleased to see. Okay, I have a livestock guardian dog. She's Great Pyrenees, Sheba, and she stays with the goats. Okay. Well, in the morning, when I feed the goats, I let her out of the pen. Okay, she's penned up with the goats at night, but in the morning, I let her out, and she does a tear around the property. Okay, just barking and like she's saying, "Okay, everybody, we're out and we're about, and you better just stay out of my way." Okay, so and then she comes back, and she hangs out. And there have been times when I keep the goats in a little bit longer. Okay, especially during the winter because there's not much for them to browse on. Okay, and I let them have the hay and whatnot. Okay, well now things are starting to come out, so I need them to be more browsers than hay eaters. So I'm letting them out earlier. And this morning, oh man, she went on a serious tear this morning. Um, and I had to call her back. I called a couple times because the goats, what they did, okay, they come out and they were milling around and they were playing, they were having fun. Well, what their habit is that they start to move out, okay, in whatever direction they're going to feed for that day. Um, and it changes, but they frequently start by going up the driveway most mornings. Now, occasionally they'll go back the other direction, but most mornings they go up the driveway, and there's a couple of directions they go from there. Um, this morning, they congregated by that cedar tree, that big cedar tree. Um, and they waited. They waited for Sheba to come. They did not move out until Sheba was there. And once she was there, that's when they started to walk out. They accept her as part of the herd, but a very important part of the herd. She is their protector. And they accept that. And I thought that that was very interesting to see how they waited for her. So I feel good about, you know, doing the free ranging, and the goats mostly they go around. They make a circuit around home base here, and there's like nothing around us. So anyway, that's what's going on. And the what was I talking about? I was talking about okay. Yeah, I should have taken notes. Anyway, so I am a, excuse me. I am in a good position. Okay. And I believe that God put me in this good position. Um, I've got the livestock, I've got the property, I'm in a good location. Just everything is just like, okay, Mom H, you're good. You're good. Okay. And when I was communicating with my family this afternoon, I said, okay, you all, this is what I've heard. Did you hear it? Are you okay? I said, if you're not, I am here. You would have to come to me, but I am here. And I am in a good situation. I could take on anyone. Okay, I can't take on the whole state of Kentucky. I can't take on the whole state of New Jersey. Okay, I can't do that. But I can take on any of my family that feel they need someplace to go where they can be, where they will be able to have food, where they will be able to eat. And I know that they won't. Anybody who comes here will have to, It's interesting to hear your life story. I was watching your channel before you moved to Kentucky. Oh, really? It's amazing how things have developed, isn't it? It is. It's just how things have worked out. And I mean, if my family come, if any of my family, I don't know that any of them would, and I have a feeling that all would not come here. But if they did, okay, I have the resources. Now with more people, there's more work. Okay, but many hands make light work. Okay. Um, I don't have um a shelter. I just have this small building that we live in. Okay. Um, will I be able to accommodate any other people in this building? I don't know because it's not very big. It's fairly small. But maybe maybe they'll bring something or be able to get something. I don't know. But if worst comes to worst, I have a barn, right? It's not finished, but it's a roof. I have 2 goat barns. I said it's a roof. If worst comes to worst, we can button them up a little bit tighter. I mean, people is better than living in a tent. So I don't know where it's going to lead. I don't know how things are going to be developing from here on out. But if you haven't prepared spiritually, do so. If you haven't prepared for emergencies, do so before it's too late. The clock is ticking. Time is running out. And the thing is that this clock ticks faster the later it gets. So please do what you can. Make connections. If you are not in a position where you can do anything, make connections with someone who you might be able to help out, a resource for something else, okay? If we work together, we'll be okay. There's certain things that you cannot prepare for, no matter what. Like, for instance, the people that have been devastated by the tornadoes this year. But you can still survive. Okay. We are in a good location even when it comes to weather. Yeah, we've had wind. I've had both of my temporary shelters destroyed, but they're temporary shelters. We tend to not have too many tornadoes around here. Of course, I say that now, but just the way the weather systems go. I've watched the radar as weather systems come in, and they tend to part. Okay, when they come from one direction, they tend to part and then come back together around this area that I'm in right now. Seems to be a zone where the weather patterns naturally part like that. Depending on I mean, we still get some weather, but not like a lot of other people do. So anyway, it's a little bit more serious than what it usually is for me. I'm usually talking about everything else going on, and there's a lot going on. I have been building garden boxes. I'm going to be ordering compost this week so I can fill those garden boxes. I was scoping out a particular section of my property that I have been eyeing for some time as a good place to grow winter squash and possibly some sweet potatoes and stuff like that. Things that do not require constant attention or constant harvesting or constant pruning or anything like that. Okay. So I've got that, scoped out, and I did a little bit of trimming, and I don't have to do a lot of work to get that ready. I'm not going to be tilling it. I've got some deep bedding from the goats that I'm going to spread on there. And I've got some ground cover that I'm going to put over top of that. And I'm going to plant in the bedding. And I did that down here before the ducks found the garden and destroyed it. And that went very well. Worked very well with what I had there. So that's the plan. Get the goat deep bedding up there, put it on the space, cover it with a ground cover, and plant in that. And that's no tilling, and it will eventually kill off the grass and the weeds and stuff that's up there. So at least that's in theory anyway. So that's the plan. Um, I want to plant the sweet potatoes not just for our own consumption, but also for the animals. Um, I'm hoping I can save the sweet potato vines to pop for winter fodder. I don't know if I can do that. I've never tried it. I've not heard of anybody else doing it, but it was a thought that I had. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Of course, that means I'm going to have to fence off that area. I have one roll of fence already, and hopefully my husband will agree to pay for another roll. Since it was his idea to do that, I'm hoping that he holds true to that. So, from what I hear, goats like pumpkins. Yes. There's a lot of things they'll eat. So, pumpkin is on the list. That would be under the category of winter squash. So, I plan on planting several varieties. I've got some seed potatoes. I've got a sweet potato to start growing slips. I'm not sure how successful I'll be because I've never done it. But I do have a source for sweet potato slips if I am not successful. So, I'm scoping out that I've got a lot of area where I can still grow, but I'm starting with the one that's already cleared. A lot of the other area, it doesn't require a lot of clearing, but it does require some clearing. So, and the goats will be useful for keeping it cleared because of the type of trees and bushes up on that spot. So, anyway, so I am late already. I was late doing the live, and Jean, I see you've at least kept me company. I think there might have been another person in that didn't say hi, but that's okay. I oftentimes watch live streams myself, and sometimes I say hi and sometimes I don't. It all depends on what's going on, so that's fine. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't know where that yawn came from. That surprised me. But anyway, I'm going to go because I have some things I have to deal with the goats. And that's one of those things. Kentucky Hilltop. That was, you thought you were good. I didn't see you, but I did. Well, I'm glad that you were in the background lurking. That's okay. That's perfectly all right. I'm glad that you were able to stop in and at least listen. So anyway, that was from my heart today. I am concerned about, other people. I've been able to bless other people with some fresh eggs. I was going to take them to church today and I didn't. I forgot them. But I've had enough eggs to share. And I do share them. I give them I take them to church on Sunday mornings. Oh, there's Heaven Bound. I condition my straw bales. Oh, good for you. I do straw bale garden in one area, a pallet garden in the other area. Then I have my above ground garden. Okay. All three seem to work good for me. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad that you're on the roll. You're on the roll. And I pray that you're able to grow enough food to make it through these hard times we're heading into. It's scary when the president that we have right now, when he says there's going to be food shortages. And it's like, okay, we've been seeing this for some time, and you're saying it out loud now. Makes you wonder. Anyway, yes. I'm getting ready. The running water to the house is on a back burner because I have to get a garden in. I grew enough last year to last through this winter. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, and I'm praying that I can actually get this done and get this going too. The thing is, I got to get a fence up as well, and I'm trying to figure out how to put a fence up because I have a rock wall right there by where I started the garden. So it's like, we'll have to see. Hopefully, I can get that figured out. You know, so I can keep the goats and the chickens and the ducks out. That's the big thing. You know, I said, okay, I'll feed you guys over there. You leave this one alone. That's mine. Okay. So, but anyway, yeah. So things are coming. It's just I had to. I said the rainwater catchment is on hold. Well, the rainwater catchment is not on hold. It's there. It's full. It's but hooking it into the house is temporarily on hold till I get the garden set up, ready to go. Okay. And thankfully, we've had some warm weather. Not today, not yesterday, but we've had somewhat warm weather. We got some more coming where I can be outside working and building this. I've talked to an Amish guy who runs a mill about getting some slab wood cutoffs from, they do the railroad ties, so they oftentimes get slab wood. So about getting some of that so I can get these garden beds built faster. And of course, when I asked him, they had just burnt a bunch. I said, "Oh, I can't believe you did that." Well, no. So he said he'd try to hang on to some, and I'll touch base with him maybe tomorrow or the next day, whatever. So, yeah, by the way, today it cost over $80 to fill our truck. It's getting serious. Anyway, okay. I got to get, thank you very much for stopping in. Jean, Kentucky Hilltop Home and Heaven Bound Homestead, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. Do what you can, okay? Be ready spiritually and do as much prep as you can, okay? Because I care for you. I love you all, okay? Take care, and I'll see you later, okay? Bye, everybody.